Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm looking at my Austrian pine, and the question is do I pinch the candles or do I not pinch the candles? I repotted this tree in spring of this year, and a lot of trees after repotting I just let them grow because I want to, regrow those roots I pruned off, strengthen it up, get the root system established in the pot. So I've got to decide with this tree, do I just let it grow wild after repotting it, or should I do some candle pinching? Here is a look at the branches on the tree. So there's some candles that are quite long, and there's a lot of candles that are, just very small still. So there's quite a variety. You can see this branch has a lot of kind of tall to medium candles. This branch also has, some sort of tall candles. A lot of branches just don't need pinching. This back branch doesn't really need pinching at all. It looks good. I won't be pinching my two sacrifice leaders up here. I'm just going to let those grow wild this year. So looking at the tree, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That'd be like 15 to 20 candles that would require pinching, the taller ones. So I don't think that would hurt the tree. It would kind of balance the vigor. I'm letting this branch also kind of thicken up. You can see the trunk kind of narrows down here, so I'm putting some vigor into this branch. So I'm not going to prune the candle tips on that one. But I don't think it would hurt on the other branches. A lot of times when you grow these sacrifice branches up top, all the vigor of the tree is going to the apex where these sacrifice branches are. So the smaller branches down lower tend to grow a lot more weakly. A lot of times with a bonsai, you're trying to get the energy of the tree to distribute equally amongst all the branches, so all your candles would come out exactly the same length. That's an ideal situation. But when you grow these sacrifice branches up top, all the vigor starts going to the top of the tree, and the branches naturally get weaker, which isn't a bad thing. It's a good way to kind of keep your branches, your internodes tight, and your growth kind of controlled on the tree. So I think I will pinch the longer candles. There's a lot that don't really need pinching, but I'm definitely going to pinch off these really tall candles. And we'll see how the tree does. So here I go with the pinching. So generally, you want your candles to be kind of the width of your finger. So you grab the needle by the base, like that, and you pinch off the top. Just like that. So I'll do that for the entire tree, except the ones I want to grow longer and thicker. And we'll just see how the tree does. It should do okay. So this one's just getting the tip pinched off it, like that. So normally this operation is done every spring, kind of equalizing the vigor in the branches. And the only reason I'm a bit apprehensive this year is that I've just repotted the tree. So that one I think is okay. I could take maybe just the very tip off this candle, if I can grab it there. Yeah, so you can see it's kind of equalized the candle length on this branch. So I'll move on to the next branch. So here, I'll pinch these tips. So the only thing you have to watch out for is I have had, I don't know what they're called, budworms, I guess, or candle worms in some of my branches on this tree in the past. So if you you know, squeeze the candle, you'll find it's like soft. Then you know there's a budworm inside it eating the bud. So you just remove that candle entirely and squish the worm. I don't get it very often, but I have had it. And that's the reason I've grown 2 sacrifice leaders, because I had the leaders, my sacrifice branch had the bud worms in the tips of it, and I lost the growth on my sacrifice branch for that year. So now I have 2, one as a backup in case they get those bud worms in the tips. So I'll do this branch next here. Taking these candles off. So it's a very quick operation doing this. Of course, you know, the more candles you have on your tree, the longer it takes, but generally it only takes like half an hour. Maybe longer if you have a really developed tree. I did a lot of thinning on this tree. Taking a look at the branch structure, it had a lot more ramification, but I took it back because it was just getting too crowded and too dense, the branches. So that's another thing you have to watch out for on your pines, is you can get too high a density of needles and it just stops light getting through and air circulation, and the tree becomes a little unhealthy. So this branch, I only had to prune the 1 candle on it. The rest are all a nice size. So the ones I won't be pinching are here, so I'm going to do this branch. This candle pruning, you know, definitely weakens the branches on your tree. If you let them grow, they'll grow with more vigor and thicken up more. So I just have a few more branches to go. And I would show you an example of one of those budworms, but thank goodness I don't have any so far anyway. I don't want them. Okay, so there's just one more candle back here. That's pinched, and maybe this one here. Those ones are going to go along. Yeah, I think that's got the tree done. I'm just doing a final inspection. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so that operation's done. I'll show you an overall view of the tree now. Here's what I took off. So just, you know, a handful of candles, not too many. And here is a look at the tree. So you can see it's looking a little more balanced. The branches, the candles are kind of more an equal length. So I'll let those, you know, come out into needles. And that might be it for the summer. There were a few branches that I wanted to shorten more. I was waiting for some of these back buds to thicken up. So there might be a little pruning, like this one on the end here can get pruned off eventually. There might be a little detail pruning coming over the summer, but basically the tree can just grow for the entire summer now. And I think by the end of summer, those sacrifice branches will be very tall. You can see the vigor in the candles of them. They're quite large. And you can see how much growth they put on last year. Really. That should help thicken up my trunk. So that's my goal, is to thicken the trunk up and try and get rid of some of that changes in diameter of the trunk. And I've got that ball shape here where there was a whorl when the tree was first purchased from a nursery. So I'm trying to thicken the trunk up and eliminate you know, the changes in thickness of the trunk, so it's more of an even taper. So that's it on the Austrian Pine for today. I think it's looking good. It looks like it survived the repotting this spring quite well. And I did bare root it, root prune it, and put it in new soil and a new pot. Because the Austrian Pine was repotted this spring, I've been keeping it here in the greenhouse protected from the full sun and the wind. So eventually it'll go outside for the rest of the summer once it needles out and looks like it's growing really strongly. It's time now for today's updates. You may notice that the greenhouse is looking a little more empty. If you look down below the benches, there's not much on the floor of the greenhouse anymore. So what I've done is I've taken all the trees that didn't get repotted this year and put them outside. We're getting some, you know, nice weather lately, above freezing at nighttime. So here's a look at the benches now. You can see they're filling up with trees. My poly house here is also looking quite empty. I've moved a lot of the trees outside. I still have some of the ones that were recently repotted in the poly house here, just to keep them out of the wind and the full sun. They get kind of partial shade with this frosted plastic. So I have my buckthorn in here. This is going to be a major repot this year. The buds are just starting to break now, so this is the time to repot it. So I'll be doing that either later today or tomorrow. It's in a fairly large cement pot, and the tricky thing with this tree is that right now the front is over here, and I want to change the front almost 90 degrees, which means the root system in the pot will have to rotate 90 degrees, so the long side of the pot will become the short side. And I'm not sure how the roots will like that. So when I pulled it out of the pot, when I potted it up in this pot, the root base came to about here. So if this part is filled with new roots, I know it's rooting quite well and it's healthy. If this part of the soil is empty, then I know I've got to be more careful with the tree when I repot it, that I may not be able to do that 90-degree angle change all in one step. So time will tell on that, but that'll be coming up. That'll be an exciting repot for this old ancient European buckthorn. Out behind the poly house, the benches are still all empty here. So I'll be moving the trees from the basement, all my temperate trees, outside soon, and they'll probably go in the glass greenhouse first to transition them, and then eventually onto the benches. So everything is looking good. I've done a lot of weeding as I move trees out here, and I'm doing a lot of watering now. The trees are starting to grow and their intake of water has dramatically increased. So I'm watering like at least once per day now, sometimes twice a day on some of the trees. Yeah, so it's good to see them out on the benches once again. It's nice to see spring coming to the bonsai zone. My favorite time of the year is when all the trees are out on the benches, the tropicals, the temperates, and the hardy trees. Everything's outside. And there's lots of work coming over the summer on a lot of the trees. So it should be fun. My Austrian pine is looking good. It's ready to grow for the summer. And that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.